Let's face it, we all have our fair share of secrets. However, some places are so restricted and guarded that getting in or out is practically impossible. Or it was until now. Strap in, super spy. I've got you an all-access pass into previously inaccessible places. We're going everywhere, from the world's most secure Starbucks to whatever's inside this giant concrete hole. This is going to be dangerous, so keep your wits about you as we take a look at the most heavily guarded places on Earth. Efficient protection. One thing I admire about America is their ability to come up with new ideas. Who says buildings need to have four sides? Not the Pentagon. It's unique and impressive. As the headquarters for the U.S. Department of Defense in Arlington County, Virginia, it takes security very seriously. Everyone who goes in gets thoroughly checked, and they don't allow pictures inside to keep things confidential. And that's just the start. All deliveries have to go through a huge remote facility nearby, which handles 250 trucks every day. Once a vehicle is cleared, it goes through a detailed inspection, including checking underneath with mirrors and using trained dogs to find explosives. Drivers even have to pass through a metal detector before they can open their cargo doors. All the materials are also X-rayed and carefully inspected before they can enter the Pentagon. It's pretty intense. One of the most amazing things about the Pentagon is the special windows in certain parts of the building. They're super thick and weigh a ton each. During the 9/11 attack, a plane crashed into the Pentagon, but these windows saved the lives of thousands of people. It goes to show just how important these defensive measures can be. Ultra-secure underground hideout. We've talked about how the US government keeps things safe above the ground, but what about below it? Well, there's the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, a super tough underground fortress in Colorado Springs, Colorado. It was built in the 1950s to protect against Soviet bombers, and it's been home to many important US defense units over the years. If you were inside, you'd feel really safe. The facility is buried under a massive 2,000 feet of strong granite and is designed to withstand earthquakes, nuclear explosions, and electromagnetic pulse attacks. These electromagnetic pulse weapons can mess up communication and electrical systems, but this complex is like a giant protective shield thanks to its Faraday cage design. To create this secret hideout, they had to dig through a mind-boggling 693,000 tons of granite, and once it was all set up, they put on two massive blast doors that are 3.5 feet thick and weigh 20 tons each. These doors can handle a huge 30 megaton explosion from a little over a mile away, which is way more than the most powerful US nuclear weapon ever made. Today, this place is off-limits to the public and is used as a backup training center for the North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD. If you keep thinking of sneaking in, just know it's heavily guarded by military personnel. It gives me the creeps. I'm out of here. Secret Storage Sanctuary. Alright, enough with government stuff. Are you ready to see something really amazing? In Butler County, Pennsylvania, hidden away from sight, there's one of the most secure storage places in America. Not many people even know it existed until now. It's called The Underground, and it's run by a company called Iron Mountain. There are no signs on the road to show you where it is, and from the outside it just looks like an ordinary place. But here's the incredible part. 220 feet below the ground, in a huge 1,200-acre old limestone mine, there's a hidden city. It has its own fire brigade, security, speed limits, traffic lights, street names, and sidewalks. It's like a city underground. But why do they need this? Well, it's not just any storage place. They keep everything from government records to famous musicians' music recordings there. They even have Charles Darwin's will. With so many priceless things, they have to be super careful. That's why around 2,000 people work there every day. They also keep important digital data safe by storing copies in different places. So if something goes wrong, they still have the information somewhere else. This place needs a lot of power, and all those machines make heat. So they use a smart cooling system that takes water from a big flooded part of the mine. It's pretty clever. The place also has a roof that can't leak, and it's in an area where earthquakes are less likely. And if that's not enough, they have a 3-ton steel gate and armed guards around the clock to keep unwanted visitors out. Sounds amazing, right? I wonder if they could help me hide this completely ordinary looking package. The presidential plane. Enough with underground stuff for now, it makes my lungs feel dusty. Let's get some fresh air, and there's nowhere fresher than 35,000 feet up in the sky. Air Force One is the special name given to any aircraft carrying the President of the United States. Usually it refers to this custom-modified Boeing 747. You might have flown business class or even first class, but you've never experienced President class. This plane is like a flying palace. It has a private residence, meeting rooms, and even medical facilities. Of course, it's packed with Secret Service agents, but there are no weapons on board. You might wonder how they protect the president without any weapons, right? Well, Air Force One has so many built-in defense systems that it doesn't need weapons. First, it has special countermeasures to redirect missiles away from it. These countermeasures mess with the missile's heat sensors so they can't lock onto the plane's engines. If that's not enough, it can release flares that burn super hot and distract any threats. But that's just the beginning. The communication systems inside are encrypted, so all calls, radio communications, and computer connections are super secure and can't be intercepted. And if the plane has to fly over a risky area, it has scramblers that mess with nearby aircraft radars, so nobody knows where the president is. But here's the coolest part. Air Force One is loaded with enough supplies to stay in the air for 2 to 3 days without landing. It can even refuel in the air from a special refueling plane, so it never has to touch the ground. That's pretty amazing, but not for me. I get sick on planes. Air Force One would be Air Force Vom for me after just 15 minutes. Mysterious micronation. The Vatican City, the world's smallest country, may seem tiny at just under 0.2 square miles within Rome, Italy, but it holds big secrets, particularly within the Vatican Apostolic Archives. Inside this archive, covering an astonishing 53 miles of shelving, you'll find a vast collection of documents, state papers, letters, and records amassed by the Catholic Church over the past 1,200 years. These archives were separated from the Vatican Library during the 17th century by Pope Paul V, and access was restricted until the 19th century. Even today, unlike most state archives, it remains completely off-limits to the general public. The application process for access is complex, and students, amateur historians, and reporters are automatically denied. Academic scholars seeking entry must be at least 75 years old and have their authorizations reviewed every 6 months. If approved, they enter through a secret entrance protected by the Swiss Guard and can view a meager 3 documents per day. Photography and ink are prohibited, with only pencil, paper, and personal computers allowed. The mystery surrounding these archives has led to various theories, ranging from doomsday prophecies to books on summoning Satan, proof of extraterrestrial life, and even a functional time machine. It's a daunting place, and perhaps what's scariest of all are the stringent restrictions and the age requirement for access. Bold as brass. To me, peace means myself, my car, and the open road leading to Denny's at 3 a.m. But I can't help but worry that while I'm enjoying my late-night T-bone steak and milkshake, someone might try to steal my cherished car. If only there were a secure place to leave my beloved ride, a place like Bold Lane Car Park in Derbyshire, England. Once known for its high crime rates, this car park underwent a transformation in 1997 when the local council invested £500,000, equivalent to about $1.1 million today, to equip it with state-of-the-art technology to safeguard vehicles. Upon entering, each driver receives a unique ticket with a special barcode that activates sensors in the parking bay's floor. If someone tries to move the car without deactivating these sensors, a loud alarm system is triggered. These tickets are the sole means of entry and exit, ensuring that opportunistic thieves can't enter from the street without depositing a car first. It's a brilliant security measure. Just before the security upgrades in 1997, there were 161 reported cases of criminal activity in the area. However, the following year, that number dropped to 0. Despite the slightly higher cost compared to other car parks in the area, locals are more than willing to pay a bit extra for the peace of mind this secure facility offers. It's truly impressive. Knox, Knox, who's there? I used to believe that all banks had a massive room filled with cash guarded by a thick metal door. Unfortunately, my local Chase branch doesn't quite fit that image, but I know a place that does. This is the US Bullion Depository at Fort Knox, and it holds more than half of the Treasury's gold reserves. The The Treasury is the government agency responsible for printing money and overseeing the federal government's finances. To print more dollars, they need to back each dollar with a specific amount of gold. And Fort Knox is the place where they store an astonishing 147.3 million ounces of gold, roughly equivalent to the weight of 20 solid gold Boeing 747s. Looking impressive, right? Now, as of the time I'm making this video, the price of 1 ounce of gold is approximately $2,000. So in total, I'd estimate that Fort Knox holds around $295 billion worth of gold. That's a whole lot of money. Ka-ching! But before you start dreaming of visiting or touching the shiny gold bars, let me burst your bubble. The chances of you getting within 100 yards of that precious gold are incredibly slim, if not impossible. Each corner of the perimeter is meticulously guarded by watchful posts, ensuring constant surveillance of the entire area. And if, by some extraordinary feat, you manage to sneak past these guards, you'd still have to contend with layers of razor wire and explosive mines that could quite literally slice and blast you to pieces. It's a rather gruesome scenario. But let's say, for the sake of imagination, that you miraculously evade all those deadly obstacles. Your next challenge would be to access the actual vault itself. This vault door is an imposing 21 inches thick, constructed from solid steel that's resistant to torches and drills, and it weighs a formidable 20 tons. I'd venture to guess that it probably resembles something like the Washington Trust vault door. Now here's the kicker. There's no single person who knows all the techniques and tricks required to open that vault door. Instead, discrete combinations are shared among multiple staff members, making it practically impossible for any single person to access the vault. And even if by some miracle you somehow obtained all the codes, it would still take a mind-numbing 100 hours for that massive door to fully unlock. So, if you ever had any plans to break into Fort Knox, you might want to reconsider and just order takeout for your late-night stakeout. Maybe some Denny's? Fed Fortress. Alright, so we know how Fort Knox is all about protecting the government's money, but what about our money? Now, some folks might not have the brightest opinions about the Federal Reserve, but when it comes to safeguarding gold reserves, they've really gone all out. Nestled at 33 Liberty Street in Manhattan, the Fed manages the world's largest, most active and most influential gold storage reserve. It's like a real-life treasure trove hidden just 80 feet below the city streets, boasting a staggering 6,195 tons of gleaming gold. That's roughly $357 billion. Impressive, right? But here's the kicker. Only 2% of that gold belongs to the United States. The other 98% is owned by central banks from 36 different countries. Now, you might think this stash is heavily guarded by burly men with giant weapons, and you're not entirely wrong, but here's the twist. No human is allowed inside the vault itself. Inside, it's all robots, moving pallets upon pallets of gold into 122 separate compartments, each containing gold from a different account. And here's the secret sauce. The exact bars deposited by the owner are the same ones they get back upon withdrawal, so it's like a giant golden piggy bank. To maintain anonymity, these compartments are all numbered, not named. But if you ever dream of breaking into this golden paradise, brace yourself. You'd first need to get through a colossal 140-ton steel and concrete door, and once inside you'd face the daunting task of unlocking a padlock, 2 combination locks, and an order to seal for every single compartment. All of this while 24-hour motion-sensitive cameras keep an eagle eye on the area. So to be brutally honest, your chances of pulling this off are slim to none, and that's probably for the best. And hey, misplacing even a single gold bar could make the other countries quite upset with us, so let's leave this treasure trove to the experts, shall we? Risky River. Here's some advice I live by. Always be cautious around bodies of open water. Strong currents can sweep you away to who knows where, but the Twan River poses a different kind of danger altogether. Despite being neither deep nor wide, this river marks the land border between North Korea and China. By day, many North Koreans use it for bathing, washing clothes and cleaning vegetables, but by night it transforms into a lifeline for those trying to escape the oppressive regime. Yet, crossing the Twan River is no walk in the park. Nighttime temperatures can plummet to just 1 degree Fahrenheit, and the icy waters are only the beginning of your troubles. Guards stationed along the riverbanks have strict orders to shoot first and ask questions later, creating a deadly barrier for those attempting to flee. The river's banks are also lined with barbed wire fences, which are challenging to see in the darkness, and hidden in the nearby hills are watchtowers filled with even more guards ready to catch any would-be defectors. But let's say you're one of the fortunate souls who manages to make it across. Your journey is far from over. The North Korean State Security Department operates special squads tasked with tracking down and arresting those who've escaped before sending them back to North Korea. It's a perilous journey filled with unimaginable risks. However, some who've made it safely to the Chinese city of Yanji, just 15 miles from the crossing, are now enjoying a better quality of life. So while the odds are stacked against them, there's still a glimmer of hope for those seeking freedom. Cappuccino for John Doe. You know about the CIA, right? They're a part of the US government that collects and studies secret information to keep the country safe. They are super secretive about what they do. The main office in Langley, Virginia is so private that even the people who designed it needed special permission. Inside their office, everything is top secret. They have a museum, but regular people like us can't go in there. They even give lie detector tests to the agents every few years to make sure no one is leaking secrets. Even the Starbucks at their office is super secure. The workers there have to pass strict background checks, and only people with special permission can go inside. They don't even call out your coffee order by name to keep everything secret. Instead, they match the coffee with your face. It would be really hard to tell who's a CIA agent in there. So the CIA takes secrecy very seriously. They even have the most secure Starbucks in the world. Here's a sticker for them. Max Security Slammer. I've been living in constant fear ever since I avoided a jaywalking fine back in 2008. I really hope they never catch me because going to prison sounds terrible, especially a place called ADX Florence in Colorado. This prison is super high security, and it's where they keep the most dangerous criminals like the Unabomber and the Boston Marathon bomber. In ADX Florence, the inmates hardly ever leave their tiny cells. For the first 3 years, they don't even get to see other prisoners. Only if they behave well can they earn a little bit of time outside, but it's not what you might think. It's a small, fenced area called the Concrete Pit. If you were imagining something like this, it's actually kind of worse. This is merely some Photoshop imaging from yours truly. The real Concrete Pit is an oppressively small courtyard, barely large enough to walk 10 steps in a straight line. The cells are so tiny, just 7 feet by 12 feet, with a small window that doesn't show much except the sky. Everything in the cell, like the bed and furniture, is made of concrete, so that it can't be used as a weapon. They have cameras, sensors, and steel doors everywhere, and officers watch the inmates all day and night. There's even a panic button to lock everything down if there's trouble. If somehow a prisoner manages to escape, there are laser beams and attack dogs waiting outside the fence. The best hope is to behave well and maybe get out early, but it's a really tough place to be. So there you have it. Each of these stories is a testament to the incredible feats of security and secrecy in our world. Which of these fortified fortresses did you find the most mind-boggling? Let me know in the comments below. And that's a wrap for this video. Thanks for tuning in.